everybody, how are we all doing today? I hope you are all well. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know, my name is Jess and I talk about books, and today I am finally going to talk about the books that I read in June. So I apologise in advance for this weird setup. I normally film in front of my bookcase, but I have some things going on which you will see eventually in a future video. So we're going to have to deal with this for the time being. It is very hot as well, so I apologise for my sweaty appearance. But I digress. We're going to talk about the books that I read in June, and I read some amazing books last month. The quality of the books that I read was just fantastic. Probably my best month so far this year in terms of ratings. I had a staggering 4 5-star reads in June, which is incredible, and I'm so excited to explain to you guys why those books were 5 stars. So as always, I'm going to start with my lowest rated book and then work my way up to the highest. And I only have 1 3-star read this month. So we're going to start with The Witcher Sword of Destiny. This is by Andrzej Sapkowski. And this is the second short story collection within the Witcher world. This is considered a prequel to the actual series. I read The Last Wish, which was the first short story collection back in January. I think that was 4 stars, if I can recall, and I really enjoyed it. This one I didn't enjoy as much. I didn't feel that bothered about most of the stories in this book. I think my favourite was the second story, which I believe was called Something More, and it focused on Geralt and Yennefer and their relationship, just because I loved those two so much. It did what it was supposed to do, you know. It introduces you to new characters and new monsters within the world. It kind of gets you set up for reading the series proper. So I am looking forward to reading this series. I want to get my hands on the first book in the series, which I think is called Blood of Elves. I know my library has it, so hopefully I can get that loaned out soon. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. You know, the perfect kind of fantasy read if you want to read fantasy, but you're just not in that mindset to read an entire series or a massive novel. It's nice to delve into these short little stories every now and then. But yeah, I didn't love it as much as I did The Last Wish, but it still got me really interested in reading the series. So there we go. All right, so let's move on to all the books that I rated 4 stars, and I have 1, 2, 3 books here. So let's start with Haunted. This is by James Herbert. So I loaned this out from the library kind of randomly. I wasn't really looking for any specific book on that visit. In fact, I did make a little library visit vlog where I picked up this book, so you can go and watch that if you want to. But I have heard of James Herbert. I know he wrote a lot of thrillers and mysteries and paranormal type mysteries as well, and this book, Haunted, is a paranormal story. It is about a paranormal investigator, but I wouldn't say he investigates the paranormal as such, but he investigates instances where people believe something paranormal is happening with the intention of debunking it. So he's a bit of a skeptic. He goes to this house where this rich family live because they believe it is being haunted, and he is there to essentially investigate what is actually going on and to try and debunk this belief that these people have that there is a ghost roaming. And I really enjoyed this one. It was a very short read. It was about less than 200 pages, I think, but it did the job. You know, it had great atmosphere. It had really well written characters. I loved the mystery element to it. I loved you know, trying to figure out what was going on and trying to piece it all together, and I was very satisfied with the ending. So I'm definitely keen to read some more stuff by James Herbert. I've been seeing a lot more of his books recently since I picked this one up. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I think this is the first book in a series featuring the main character, which is, what was his name? David Ash. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. All right, so my next 4-star read is The Vacation by John Marrs. And again, another fantastic book by John Marrs. I have not rated anything I've read by him lower than 4 stars yet. I've had like, what, 3 5-star reads from him now and 2 4-star reads, something like that. I'm just so impressed by this guy. Like, he can just do no wrong. And The Vacation is actually the first book that he ever wrote. He self-published it years and years ago. But since he's become more prominent, he re-released it last year as an ebook. He'd revised it and rewritten parts of it and then re-released it as an ebook, and now it's out in physical copy. I read the ebook and I really enjoyed it. So this is about, as always, with John Marrs, a variety of different characters who come from very different backgrounds, different parts of the world, and they all have something going on. They all have their secrets, they all have their flaws, and this book is set in Venice Beach in California, and we are following this group of characters who are staying at this hostel in Venice Beach. We've got a character who is on a quest to find something that a woman has left in her inheritance. We've got a character who has moved to America in the hope of starting a new life because of a shady past. We've got 2 characters who are best friends who are traveling the world, and one of the friends is ill, and a bunch of other characters with things going on. And this was just so much fun. Every chapter ended on a cliffhanger, and I just had to keep reading. The writing was so addictive. Yeah, this was just a roller coaster. I didn't rate it 5 stars because I felt that it lacked a lot of the mystery and intrigue that some of the other John Marrs books have had that I have read. But I understand that it was originally his first work. So yeah, it was still a lot of fun. I predicted the ending, but I was very satisfied by it. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. It's also the perfect read for this time of year. So my next 4-star read is Animal Farm by George Orwell. So I went on a little bit of a George Orwell reading sprint, and I read this after I read 1984, which I'll talk about in a minute. This is a very short read. I read the ebook edition and it was about 90 pages. I wasn't expecting it to be so short, but I've been wanting to read Animal Farm for quite a long time. It is set on a farm where we are introduced to this pig called Old Major, and he has this vision of setting the animals free, allowing them to think and work for themselves, but he dies before he can put that idea into motion. So after he's died, we have this other pig called Napoleon, who becomes the leader of this farm of the animals, and they form what we would call a communist society, a socialist society, where everybody is equal, everybody does their fair share, and everybody gets their fair share, or so they think. And I found this book absolutely absurd, but also absolutely hilarious. And it does give you a really good discussion about this side of communist society and how leaders of those societies tend to twist things to suit them. How you think you're all equal, but in reality, you're not really that equal at all. And the people at the top still have more than you. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. It was just so much fun. But it wasn't as good as the other George Orwell book that I read, which I'm going to talk about now. So we're going to go on to my 5-star reads, and we'll start with 1984. So I remember reading some of this when I was a teenager, and at the time I didn't enjoy it because a lot of the things that it was talking about went straight over my head. You know, I was young, I didn't understand politics or the social aspects of society and surveillance and all of that. I didn't really get it. This time I really got it, and it was so scary reading about this society, this world where the world is kind of divided and countries are doing their own thing, and this one guy is living in a country where everybody is being surveilled, being watched. And it kind of just reminded me of lockdown a little bit, and the extremes that we had to go to, or that we were being put through at times. Obviously, the stuff that we went through is nowhere near as bad or as extreme as what people are going through in 1984. But you can kind of see the similarities. So this is a dystopian novel about a society that is, being watched. You've got the big brother who is watching everyone and making sure that you are complying with the rules that the government have put in place, that you are supporting the government, that you are supporting Big Brother in this instance. And we have things like the thought police, who monitor what you think, which is insane, and I don't understand how anyone would do that. But in 1984, you can commit a thought crime. So if you think anything against Big Brother, even just the smallest thing, you can be arrested for it. So very, very extreme. But I also noticed a lot of similarities between this world and some of the stuff that I've read about North Korea. I read a book by a girl who had escaped North Korea, and Yeonmi Park, you might know of her, and some of the stuff that she talks about how, you are expected to think a certain way, you're expected to act a certain way, everything you do is in support of the leader, of the government, and it just kind of reminded me of that a little bit as well. But I also love the horror aspect of this book as well. There are some very brutal scenes, some really gory scenes as well, and particularly a scene towards the end of the book that just really stood out to me, sticks in my mind, and I can't stop thinking about. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this, and I'm so glad that I gave it another chance, and I can totally understand why it is regarded as one of the greats, Another 5-star read is Why We Sleep. Sorry, I'm reading off my screen. Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. This is by Matthew Walker, PhD. So I listened to the audiobook of this. I actually started listening to this around the end of May, and it was a book that I just kind of dipped in and out of whenever I was doing chores or I was driving or at the gym, But this book discusses about what it says in the title, Why We Sleep. It talks about how humans evolved to sleep the way we do. It talks about the power of dreams, why we dream, and what our dreams mean. It also talks a lot about why it's important to get a good sleep, all of the health benefits that you gain from getting a good night's sleep. And it talks about how you can get a good night's sleep. And I really needed this book because I am an insomniac, and I can go from one extreme to the other. I can have a really bad night and just not sleep, or I can have a really good night but then I just oversleep. So it's trying to find that balance. This book was very interesting, and I feel like it helped me a lot. So I really recommend it if you are somebody like me who struggles with your sleep, struggles with getting to sleep, or if you just want to know a little bit more about the science behind it, it was a very, very interesting read. So another 5-star book is another non-fiction read, and that is Elizabeth Sladen, The Autobiography. So if you don't know, I am a massive Doctor Who fan, and Elizabeth Sladen is best known for playing Sarah Jane Smith, the companion to the 3rd Doctor and the 4th Doctor. She also made an appearance during David Tennant's era as well, and she had her own show called The Sarah Jane Adventures on CBBC back in the day, which was amazing. Unfortunately, she passed away very suddenly in 2011 from cancer, which was absolutely devastating. I'm still not over it. But before she died, she did start writing this autobiography, and then they released it posthumously at the end of 2011. I actually wasn't aware of this book until I'd seen someone else read it on Instagram. So I downloaded it on my Kindle, and I was just hooked from page 1. And I love reading about Liz's life, and in particular her time on Doctor Who during John Pertwee's and Tom Baker's era. It was very interesting actually to read about the goings on behind the scenes of Doctor Who, and if you are a Doctor Who fan, I highly recommend it, because you will learn a lot about how the show was made back in the day, you know, in the 60s and 70s. It was really, really interesting, and I just absolutely adore Elizabeth Sladen, and it's so sad that she died, but I'm really glad that she wrote this book, because it offered such a fantastic insight into her life, and it gave us an insight into what she was like as a person. I've always heard from people who got the chance to meet her that she was just absolutely lovely, and I can see that in her words. So yeah, I absolutely adored this book. I don't know what else I can say. All right, and then lastly, my last 5-star read. I actually have the physical copy of this book. We've got a whole video without me holding up a book. That's crazy. But 5 stars to A Storm of Swords Part 2. This is Blood and Gold by George R.R. Martin. This is the second book to the third book, the second part to the third book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. This is a reread for me. It was always going to be 5 stars. The first part was actually only 4 stars for me, but this one definitely had more of the good stuff. I did a lot of annotating as well, a lot of tabbing. Everything that you expect to happen, that you want to happen, happens in this book. It's an absolute roller coaster, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually read this book while I was in a bit of a reading slump at the start of June, and let me tell you, it got me out of my slump. So yeah, absolutely loved it. Don't know what else I can say, really. Alright guys, so that is my June wrap up. We finally got around to filming it. I've been really bad at doing wrap-ups. I realise I haven't done a May wrap-up, and I'm probably not going to, because I can't even remember what most of my thoughts and opinions were on those books at the time. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to leave in the comments down below. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've talked about in today's video and what you thought of them, because as always, I love to hear what you guys have to say. You can leave a cheeky thumbs up if you like this video, because it does really help with my channel growth. You can subscribe to my channel as well, and you can hit the bell button so you don't miss a single video that I upload in the future. And having said all of that, I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye guys.